I used to think silence meant peace. But lately, it just felt like distance. Emily and I used to talk for hours about everything: dreams, plans, even nonsense. Now, we barely spoke beyond daily logistics. Did you pay the bill? What's for dinner? Did you pick up Lily from school? The spark that once made us laugh until midnight had dimmed to quiet coexistence. Emily wasn't cruel. She was tired. Between work, motherhood, and trying to keep our home together, she had no energy left for small talk or late-night jokes. I'd come home to her asleep on the couch, an empty mug beside her and our daughter's drawings scattered on the table. She looked peaceful. But next to that peace, I felt invisible. I told myself this was just marriage, comfort replacing passion, routine replacing excitement. Yet, somewhere inside, resentment began to whisper. I started noticing things I shouldn't: how she didn't look up when I entered the room, how her laughter belonged to our daughter now, not me. Then one day at work, my coworker Jake noticed my mood. "You look half dead, man," he said, half joking. "You need a break, maybe a drink, maybe even a date." I laughed it off, but something in me paused. A blind date? It sounded ridiculous, impossible. I was married. But when he mentioned he knew someone nice to talk to, my silence lingered a little too long. That night, while Emily folded laundry and asked if I could read Lily a bedtime story, my mind wandered. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong by agreeing to meet someone new. Just a conversation, a way to feel alive again. I convinced myself I wasn't betraying her, not yet. And that lie felt comforting enough to believe. She was already sitting when I arrived, sipping something dark through a straw, her hair falling the same way Emily's used to when we first met. Her name was Lena. She smiled when she saw me, and for a moment, it felt like recognition, as if I already knew her. We started talking, and the conversation was effortless. No awkward pauses, no strained laughter. Just words flowing like we'd been waiting to speak to each other for years. She asked about my life, my work, my family. I didn't lie, but I didn't tell the whole truth either. I said I was married, but things were complicated. She didn't pry. She just nodded softly as if she understood. That small understanding, that gentle silence, felt like warmth I hadn't felt in months. Every time she laughed, something inside me loosened. I found myself leaning forward, studying the curve of her lips, the way her eyes softened when I spoke. I told myself it was harmless. People meet, people talk, nothing wrong with that. But as minutes turned into hours, the boundaries started to blur. She touched my arm once when she laughed, and I didn't pull away. Instead, I felt something I shouldn't, the pulse of being seen. When we finally stood to leave, she said, "This was nice. We should do it again." I nodded before I even realized what I was agreeing to. My heart raced as I walked away, my mind loud with guilt, but my chest strangely light. At home, Emily was asleep again, the soft hum of our daughter's night light filling the room. I stood there, staring at them, wondering why I felt both full and empty at the same time. I hadn't kissed Lena, but I already knew I'd crossed the line. I told myself I wouldn't see her again. But lies have a way of sounding like promises when you need them to. A week later, we met for coffee. Then again for lunch. Then it wasn't coffee or lunch anymore. It was afternoons that bled into evenings, messages that never stopped, glances that said what we were too afraid to admit. I started deleting texts, silencing notifications, inventing meetings that didn't exist. Each lie came easier than the last. The first time I kissed her, it felt like relief, not passion, not love, just release from the ache of emptiness. But right after, reality sank in like a cold wave. I saw Emily's face in my mind, her quiet exhaustion, her trust. I should have stopped then. I didn't. I told myself I deserved this brief escape, that everyone gets lost sometimes. That lie carried me straight into a hotel room one Friday evening. Afterward, Lena lay beside me, tracing patterns on my arm, talking about nothing. I felt hollow. She didn't know me, not the man who changed diapers at 3 a.m., not the man who once built a crib with shaking hands. She knew only the version I'd edited, confident, easy, untethered. And I let her believe it because the truth would have ruined the illusion. When I got home, Emily asked if I'd eaten. Her eyes lingered on the faint scent of perfume clinging to my jacket. She didn't accuse me. She didn't cry. She just looked tired in a way that said she already knew. That night, our daughter climbed onto my lap, showing me a drawing. "Daddy," she said, pointing at a figure beside me, "she looks like Mommy." My throat closed. She didn't know how right she was. Months passed, and everything that once filled my life now existed without me. Emily took Lily and moved into a small house across town. We spoke only when necessary, voices polite but hollow. I started renting a one-bedroom apartment with beige walls and too much silence. The bed felt too big, the nights too long. I'd scroll through old photos, trying to find the exact moment love had started fading, but it wasn't one moment, it was thousands of small ones, ignored and forgotten. Lena called a few times after everything fell apart. I never answered. What was there to say? We had built something on lies, and when the lies stopped, so did we. She was never the problem. She was just a mirror reflecting the emptiness I didn't want to face. I thought she filled a void, but all she did was show me how deep it went. Sometimes I see Emily at the park when I visit Lily. She still smiles, but not the way she used to. There's a distance between us that no apology can cross. Lily tells me about school, about new friends, about how Mommy laughs more now. I nod and pretend that makes me happy. Maybe it should. Maybe that's the consequence of loving too late. I've stopped looking for comfort. I don't go on dates, I don't chase distraction. I sit with the quiet, and it hurts, but it's honest. I used to think love died from boredom. Now I know it dies from neglect. When Lily points at Emily and says, "Daddy, she looks like Mommy," I just smile faintly. She doesn't know the truth, that everything I ever wanted still looks exactly like her.